We live in a world that is driven by emotion in many ways. So often, the advice of our world is that all you need to do is just follow your heart. Now, our feelings are important. God made us emotional beings, and it's one of the very best things about us. It means we can love and care and so many things. And there may even be moments in this life when following our heart may be the right thing to do. But as followers of Jesus, we need to remember that we are called not to live by feelings, but by faith. Romans 1:17 says, "The righteous live by faith." And there are some really important reasons for that. For one thing, a hard truth is that our feelings just aren't very reliable. We feel angry at somebody only to find out later that it was a misunderstanding. We feel like we're right and then discover that we were wrong. We get cut off by somebody in traffic and we feel like we want to punch that person in the nose. Something good happens to a friend, and instead of feeling happy for them, we feel jealous. And sometimes we just feel like we want to do things that are wrong and not what God would want us to do. Feelings are not facts. They can be off base. They can be downright wrong, and sometimes they can lead us into terrible directions. Feelings are just not a good guide for us. It's for this reason that Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Jeremiah is poetically pointing out how unreliable our feelings are. Our hearts are often filled with all kinds of unhelpful desires and feelings. Our hearts are always changing. Our hearts are always subject to sin. And so again, our feelings are not reliable. But even more importantly, we're called to live by faith because our faith is grounded in the truth. And so it is always reliable for us. Do you remember what Jesus said about himself? He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And he said that his truth would set us free. And Jesus calls us to follow him because he is a reliable guide. So we shouldn't ignore our feelings. We do need to take them into account, and they can be very helpful at times, but only when they're consistent with God's word. And even then, we are to live by faith, not by feelings. And a lot of times, what this is going to mean is doing things God's way, even when we don't feel like it. Doing things God's way, even when it doesn't feel to us like the best choice. Doing things God's way, even when we feel the pressure of the world for us to do something else. Doing things God's way, even when we feel like we don't understand why. 2 Peter 1:12 says, "So I will always remind you of these things, even though you know them and are firmly established in the truth you now have." This verse calls us as people of faith to be firmly established in the truth we know. And that's really my prayer for us, that we would be firmly established in the truth of Jesus that we know, so that in every situation we would be led by our faith, not by our feelings or by any other thing.